All right, everyone. It is about 1 minute after 6, and usually we'll wait just a couple minutes after our start times for community meetings. But considering this is a Friday night, and everyone here probably has better things to do than to discuss rezoning petitions on our Friday night. We'll go ahead and get started on time tonight. So again, my name is Paul Pennell. I am with Urban Design Partners here tonight. We are assisting Alex Ransenberg on this zoning petition here in the city of Charlotte, zoning petition 2021-72. Maggie Watts from my office is also joining us. She will help to moderate the questions here on the back end. And typically what we would like to do, what we'd prefer to do is for everyone to stay on mute and maybe utilize the chat function here to maybe submit your questions as we go through this petition. And then on the back end, we'll go ahead and open it up with a few questions, and we can have a dialogue with anything that may come up. So I think that may work well. So. But we'll go ahead and get started here. So again, we're here to discuss zoning petition 2021-72. It is approximately 3.1 acres at the intersection of Whiting Avenue, Wesley Avenue, and 34th Street, East 34th Street. Let me cycle through the slide here. I think we're all probably pretty familiar with the location of this site. Currently today, there's one single family home located there. I think we're taking a look at some options for what may be done with this home that's yet to be determined. But currently today, the site is it's currently zoned R5. And we are requesting a UR1 CD, that's Urban Residential 1 conditional. So Urban Residential 1, that's basically an urban single family detached zoning district here in Charlotte, smaller lots. You can't do townhomes, things like that. That would actually be a UR2. That's a more intense zoning district for urban residential. So this is the least intense of the zoning of the UR zoning districts that we're currently requesting here. There is some precedent in the area, as you can see with this slide, that there are some existing UR districts that are adjacent to this site. You've got some along Matheson, on both sides of Whiting Avenue, and then also as you head north on Whiting Avenue, there's an existing R8 district that was just recently rezoned for some lot sizes that are a bit larger than what we're requesting here. But the reasoning for the UR1 request versus the R8 is essentially minimum lot sizes. So within R8, we were approximately 50 feet short of being able to request 4 R8 lots here at this particular location. So after conversations with staff a few months back, we decided to go ahead and submit and request the UR1 district here at this location. So currently right now, what you're seeing on your screen is the existing submitted rezoning plan that we have into the city of Charlotte for review. Comments have come back from this particular site plan, and we have been in dialogue with city staff regarding this plan and discussing our resubmittal, which will actually be coming up on this Monday. Monday is our resubmittal deadline. So we're going to take city staff comments. We're going to take comments that we've received leading up to tonight's community hearing or community meeting. Most importantly, at the NBA meeting that we presented at a few weeks back, and also comments that we receive from you all tonight. We will hear those comments and adjust as possible. Make adjustments that we can on this petition, and then resubmit this coming Monday. So in the coming days, I guess that's a long-winded way of saying, in the coming days, if you go to the City of Charlotte Rezoning Petition website, that is rezoning.org, and then go to the 2020 tab for all of the 2020 zoning petitions, and then click on 2020-172. You will see a rezoning, a revised site plan that will get posted here in the coming days. So you'll be able to see those changes. And then also we're taking meeting minutes tonight. So any dialogue that we have tonight, any questions that come up tonight, we will actually document that, and that will be posted on the city website as well. Also, just we're one of the few groups that are actually doing this. Anyone that was not able to attend this community meeting tonight, on our company website, urbandesignpartners.com, we actually have a rezoning tab where we're actually recording this meeting. We will post a video of this meeting on our website along with a copy of the presentation that we're running through tonight. So that'll be on our website, and everyone can go to that just for a record copy or a refresher of what's discussed tonight. I'm sure you will all want to go there and rewatch again. The rezoning petition and what we're requesting here are really two different entities, two different documents. So the petition, the actual language within the petition has some architectural standards, some architectural guidelines that define how a home can sit on these particular parcels, where they get sited within the parcel, and then also provide some additional language regarding where the driveways would be, where garages would be located. Also some language regarding porches on the corner of East 34th Street and Wesley Avenue, for example. Building height restrictions here, we're actually requesting 2.5-story single family homes for each one of these lots. That's probably gonna be approximately 33 feet in total height, somewhere in that neighborhood, 33, 35, somewhere in there when you take into account the top of the roof. So those architectural standards can actually be found within the petition itself. Now, what those architectural standards are describing is this. This is essentially the site plan rendering that we have prepared for this parcel, and how we would like those 4 homes to sit and interact with the adjacent streets. Lot 1 would have, we'll call it an attached garage, possibly a detached garage oriented towards Whiting Avenue. Lots 2 and lots 3 would have a driveway fronting Wesley, potentially a detached garage in the rear. So those garage doors are not fronting directly onto Wesley Avenue. So we're not talking about a front loaded garage here. And then lot 4 would have a side loaded garage, and that garage would be fronting 34th Street. And then each one of those homes would actually have usable covered porches. That language is described within the architectural standards as well. So even though in the rezoning plan, it's just rectangles, there are design standards that will give a little more teeth and credence to what's being requested here. So we can go through the rest of the presentation and then open it up to questions here in just a moment. Let me go ahead and jump here. So each one of the lots that we're proposing here is approximately 3,400 square feet. I think they're probably just a touch over that. That is a smaller lot, and as we as the city of Charlotte grows and people want to move here, I think there's also more of an interest in finding a variety of different housing types within the city. And here in this little area along Matheson and Whiting Avenue, there are some smaller lot homes. And that's why the reasoning for this request and the request for this petition, where we felt like, after having discussions with the city of Charlotte planning staff, that this seemed like a reasonable request. When we went in and spoke with staff, they had an opportunity to run GDP. GDP stands for General Development Policies, where it basically provides an indication of how much density a piece of a land can actually support in terms of density, given neighborhood services, local schools, proximity to grocery stores, roads, etc. And based on running that calculation, Basically, it's a computer application that factors in all of those different components within the community. 17 DUA, 17 dwelling units per acre, that's what DUA stands for, is what this parcel indicated it could support. Now, 17 DUA is more than 4 parcels here. That what we're requesting is more in line with 12 DUA. So it's less than the GDP density that the city provided us a few weeks back. So just wanted to mention that. Just wanted to bring that up. In terms of architectural precedents, again, usable front covered porches, not having front-loaded garages. These are a lot of the homes within North Davidson, the North Davidson community, and that's what we're pursuing here. It would look very similar. It's an architectural character that is very unique to the Nota community, and the petitioner looks to have architectural standards that would support the current architectural character within the community. So just wanted to show you some of the architectural precedents that the petitioner has specifically referenced in our discussions, and we just wanted to show those tonight to let you know that this is the direction that they would like to go with these 4 homes. Lastly is our rezoning petition timeline. So the first step, of course, was sitting down with the city and then coming up with a plan and submitting that rezoning petition to the city for review. After that, we had coordinated with Jacob and the NBA to have a presentation. We had that presentation back on December 1st. That was what we would consider a first official meeting that we needed to have. Prior to that, I'm sure a lot of you that are attending tonight probably joined us for a pre-submittal meeting, actually out on site. There was a lot of interest there. Next major milestone is what we're conducting tonight, our community meeting. It is a required step. Given the number of rezonings that are being carried out in the North Davidson community, I'm sure you're familiar with this step and the rezoning process. Next, coming up in February, will be our second NBA presentation. From there, we would prefer to go to public hearing come February 15th. Public hearing would be an opportunity for us to actually present this petition in front of City Council. The community will have an opportunity to speak for or against this petition. So make note of these 2 dates. We're anticipating a February 15th public hearing. It could be March 15th. So just be aware of the advertisements that get sent out. Those are the 2 potential dates here. The public hearings these days are virtual. Unfortunately, it looks like February and March will likely continue to be virtual. So just be aware of that. You won't have to go anywhere. You could show up just like you are now, next to your computer. From there, zoning committee would be March 2nd or March 30th. Zoning committee is a committee of appointed members where they review zoning petitions and provide and actually vote on a recommendation back to City Council. The recommendation would be a recommendation of approval or a recommendation of denial of a petition. That is not an opportunity for the public to speak. And then lastly would be the City Council decision. City Council decision would be, we're anticipating that to be either on March 15th or April 19th. So with that, that is our presentation tonight. I'm sure y'all are going to have questions, and we are happy to have a dialogue with all of you. I see we've already got 8. Looks like we have 8 questions here. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and jump back to the site plan here, which will probably be the most appropriate jumping off point for our discussion tonight. Maggie, if you'd like, please, by all means, go ahead and start letting us know what these questions are in the chat box. And then from there, maybe we can open it up for a dialogue.
Okay. Can you hear me all right, Paul?
Sure can, yeah.
Okay. First question is, do you know the history of Whiting UR zoning?
So I know it has been zoned UR for some time. Specifically regarding any particulars of what that history may be, I'm more than happy to hear what that history is.
Hey, so this is Lisa. I'm the one who asked the question.
Oh, hey Lisa, how are you?
The reason that it was brought up is because, can you flip to that map that shows that you
Sure.
are zoning on Whiting?
Of course, one.
Because that certainly is not the precedence for Nota to have that you are zoning. So back in 2007, that street Whiting did not go all the way to Holt Street. You'll see that you can see the natural path of where Whiting went. It went directly to Matheson.
Right.
The area was redone to stop having everybody cut through the neighborhood right there on Whiting, and they took it out to Nota or out to Holt Street to do that.
Yep.
In addition, it was also done to help revitalize the neighborhood. So it was a one-time thing where the Hand property, which is the big corner one that's on, it used to be the big corner one. It's an old big farmhouse because this used to all be farmland. And they redeveloped it and made these little small lots and built houses on them to revitalize the neighborhood.
Okay.
So this was all before 2007. It's certainly not the precedence. When you look through the rest of the neighborhood, you'll see that there's very little UR zoning. 36th Street has some. The Atlas property got the 4 townhouses over to help preserve the seminary. So I think your statements about UR zoning are a little incorrect in the area. It's definitely not calling for urban residential zoning to the area. So that's something I think you need to consider, because the city planners know that. We've discussed that with them. They're well aware of it. So going in and trying to push this UR1 zoning is maybe a little, not correct for this area.
And Lisa, thank you for your comments. I really appreciate the feedback and the kind of the insight and the history there. So you're right. Maybe stating that the UR1 precedent is not necessarily what we're pursuing, but the smaller single family lots, I think, is something that is certainly being looked at and is desired these days.
I don't think so. When you I know you keep pointing out Whiting, but that property on Wesley doesn't only touch Whiting. It also touches 34th Street and Wesley. So Whiting is the only part of the street, and one property touches that one and one's across the street. The rest of them around don't touch that. So that's not the look of the neighborhood right there. And I know we've said this to you a million times, and I know you guys keep pushing back on it, but 4 houses going there is never going to pass the Nota NBA. That's just cramming way too many houses in there. So I think that's something that needs to seriously be considered on your end, just because the whole density, and it'll change the whole look of the neighborhood right there.
Okay. Well,
and can I chime in on the UR zoning as well? All that UR zoning that you were talking about was adopted before the current area plan. And now I'm pretty sure the city staff doesn't support or prefer UR zoning. So I'm curious who you talked to on city staff that advised you to go for the UR1 zoning.
So the UR zoning is actually what was recommended to us by Dave Pettin and Will Linville and Grant Miyachi. The direction to request and submit the UR1 was actually at the direction of city staff. So the comments that we actually received back from the city a few days back, there were no comments regarding the petition in the district that we're currently requesting. So those comments are online. They're available for public view. Feel free to check those out. They're out there. They're not being hidden. So just that's at least the background as to why we are requesting the UR1. If we could, Maggie, would you like to continue with the questions? We've got a few more here. Just want to make sure we keep going through those and be mindful of everyone's time tonight.
Sure. It looks like the next few are comments mainly. There's a comment about the precedent images, that they do not sit as close to the sidewalk as was proposed. There is another comment that the 17 DUA is from old density number from the 90s, the city planners say 5 DUA is more likely now?
So I guess I'll have to provide a little background on that. The 17 DUA number is actually what was provided to us by city staff when we had our pre-submittal meeting back in, I believe it was November when we had that pre-submittal meeting. So it was actually fairly recent when city staff provided us that the background and the reasoning for that DUA. Now, obviously 17 DUA is very dense. So this particular petition, the DUA associated with it is just it's 12. It's just a touch over 12 as far as that calculation goes.
Yeah, this is Jacob. Of just of clarity, I think it's actually the opposite. Of the 5 DUA is from the 90s plan. The 17 DUA is from the city. Has multiple ways that they look at density that makes sense. I think, they said when they put it in their calculator, it comes out with that number as potential, obviously, as Paul stated, impacted potentially by, the fact that the food line is right there. They'll also, in our conversation with them, recognizing that they don't think 17 DUA is appropriate. I think to the zoning type rule, benefit of conditional rezoning is it has notes within it that mandate, what is built to be around that. The zoning type doesn't necessarily correlate directly to how many buildings. So even in a UR1 CD, 4 versus 3, I think to reiterate some of the folks that, or the points that folks sent of even within a UR1 CD, I think part of the question of the appropriateness of 4, which I think the number of buildings or houses is sort of the first step. And then I know there's a number of comments sort of around orientation of whether they address 34th and Whiting versus Wesley, as well as the setbacks that within that. And I know some of the other questions or comments that, come in the group chat being around the fact that the neighborhood very much still feels at this point that 4 homes is too much for that portion of, for this space as well as for this parcel. I think there's alignment there with, our conversation. I haven't read, they haven't posted yet the city sort of comments back in terms of where the city currently stands in terms of their belief of what density is appropriate for that space of, there's somewhere between 5 and 17 that, 3 parcels being sort of a 9.3 density, and I know there's still sort of conversations and probably difference of opinion on this call of 2 versus 3. I think there's a strong opinion and within this neighborhood still that 4 is too many and that 3 is more appropriate.
Thank you, Jacob. Really appreciate your feedback. As always, much appreciated. Much appreciated.
The next comment looks like it's also about density. Your map referenced compared to this rezoning is that those properties were undeveloped. This property involves demolishing an existing dwelling, one that establishes the setback precedent along 34th Street, which is what the neighborhood supports.
So the established building line along 34th Street, you're right. So actually, first, let's talk about the existing home. We actually have been in discussions with some groups here in town that have shown some interest in potentially utilizing that home elsewhere within the city. So I can't say definitively that the home is going to be demolished. So that may not necessarily be the case. We are doing what we can to see how we can potentially reuse those construction materials and not send them off to a landfill, which is not really in anyone's best interest. So the established building line on 34th Street, you can see in the site layout how we're showing it. We would desire to step the architectural facades forward towards a corner patio, a corner covered porch on lot 4 at the corner of Wesley Avenue and 34th. So we don't want to just have a home that is right up against the side yard of the adjacent home. We would like to kind of step off that home a little bit and then step towards the corner to have a nice, we'll call it presence on that corner, a nice residential patio presence. So that's something that we are thinking about. That's something that we are mindful of, and it's something that we're trying to develop and work into the architectural design standards for this petition.
Okay, the examples in Nota are all built within the last 15 years on vacant lots. The ones on Whiting occurred when the street was moved.
So the homes that are on North McDowell, we know are pretty recent, and some of these homes are fairly recent. So the North McDowell homes are probably the most appropriate example of what's being considered here. Those homes are very far forward. They're right on the public sidewalk along North McDowell. I think they are, in fact, actually rezoned UR1. I think that's the zoning district for those particular homes. So I guess if there was something within the North Davidson community that we kind of say like, hey, this is really what we're looking at here for inspiration, those homes would likely be it. I believe they're along North McDowell and 35th Street.
I'd like to see the square footage for Wesley Avenue and 34th Street. The presented lots are comparable but not adjacent.
Let's see so what we're proposing here, I think that let's see, which question was that, Maggie? I want to make sure I answer the question.
That was at 615.
Yeah, I think that's in reference to what the lot square footage is of those 34th Street homes in comparison. Obviously, the comparisons being
the existing
Yeah.
lot square footage. Thank you, Jacob. Let's see. I can try and look that up here. Let's see if I can pull that off. Let's see how quickly my internet's going to work and how quickly I can pan to the site. So the adjacent single-family home on 34th Street mirrors the existing parcel size for the parcel that's associated with this petition. It's approximately 3.1 acres. So it's about the same size. The home directly behind along Whiting Avenue, that one, I'm gonna have to do some math here. It is 8/100ths of an acre. Let's see here. Let's see, the home that's directly adjacent this parcel that shares a parcel line along Whiting Avenue, that one is 3,400 square feet, which is about the same as, actually it's right at basically what we're requesting for this particular petition. And then the home that is right across, Lisa, I think this may be your home. It's just a touch under a tenth. Let's see, so 4360 times 0.9. Oop, nope, that's not 30, approximately 3,900 square feet. So at least what's adjacent, there are some lots that are approximately the same size of what we're requesting. Of course, the home right next door on 34th Street, that parcel is larger, of course.
Okay. UR zoning for this area was all done before the current area plan. Now UR zoning is not preferred.
Yep, we had that discussion with Lisa. That's certainly something that we're going to look at. And again, we were taking our cues from the planning staff, the city of Charlotte, on what would be the most appropriate district here for what we were requesting. So we will take a look at that. We'll consider that.
What changes have you made to the plan from the last meeting's feedback?
So I think this is actually fairly similar to what we had presented at the NBA meeting. Not much has changed since then. And the reason why not much has changed since then is because we had not received staff feedback yet. We had been waiting on city staff comments to take that in. And also we wanted to have this meeting tonight to capture any additional comments that you all may have tonight. Primarily what we heard really from the pre-submittal meeting that we had was really wanting to tighten down where driveways would be located, making sure that there were no garages fronting rights of way, and really wanting to demonstrate and show within the architectural standards and the architectural design standards that we have within the petition that we heard you. You know, we've got a screening fence out there. And then those usable porches, that was certainly something that came up and that I recall coming up in that very, very early meeting a few months back.
Okay, concern about how cramped Whiting gets and if emergency vehicles would even be able to get down Whiting. Are things like this considered when increasing density?
So this has actually been a discussion point that we have had on previous petitions, and fire access and emergency vehicle access is certainly a concern. Ideally here, because these 4 lots would have their own driveways, they would not be in a position where they would need or require on-street parking. So we do not foresee this particular project exacerbating the problem of potentially blocking emergency vehicles on site. So we definitely see that as a positive.
Yeah, and just to put a plug in there, Eric Zavril and I meet with CDOT on a quarterly basis to talk about areas of concern. You guys remember maybe a year or a little bit more than a year ago when a number of streets in the neighborhood went to one way to help make sure there was room. This was also pushed by engine number 7 of just making sure that they have ways to get down their streets. So it's something we're constantly looking at of do emergency vehicles have the space to get through our streets.
The next comment is referencing the BLE area plan and the community design policies for maintaining low density residential portion of the neighborhood at up to 6 dwelling units per acre.
So the area plan here is actually, it's not exactly in an area plan. It's right outside of the 36th Street Station area plan, which was the reasoning. Typically what city staff does is they will look at an area plan and how that's been codified. And when an area is just outside or a petition is just outside of an adopted area plan, they will run that GDP, that general development policy number, which is how we arrived at that 17 DUA. So while there may have been an older plan, I think they look at it as it being just that. Since the Blue Line Station plan for this particular location does not capture these lots, it's just outside. They ran that GDP number for us to give us an idea as to what would be appropriate, or, well, I guess what we're hearing tonight, not appropriate.
Okay, this is a comment about it's interesting that homes built recently on vacant lots are being used as precedents to build new houses of that sort. If that can be used as precedents all along Wesley, 34th, and Whiting, can legitimately be changed in this manner. If buying this property with a house on it makes money, then this will happen on every lot, quadrupling the density in the area.
So I think that is fundamentally rooted in the need for housing in our city. We all know there are quite a lot of people that are moving to this city every day. And the need for a variety of different housing types is very high, whether that be, lots of planned multifamily, lots of apartments going in across the city, whether that be, your larger R4, R3, R5 lots. Some people, a lot of people, don't want to live on those suburban type of lots with yards and larger parcels to tend to and take care of, but they still want to live in those urban environments, in these urban neighborhoods, and they would like to see different types and different varieties of unit and residential types. And that's what we are, that's what the petitioner here is aiming to deliver, additional housing for a city that is in desperate need of residential options. There's
a comment about the material of the current home being used is irrelevant to the core issue of density and the plan being proposed. And the next is a question: is there any chance you and your client will adopt a 3-house max on this lot?
Right now the petition is 4. I think we're going to continue to explore that as an option moving forward. But I think there are additional conversations that need to occur here. That will continue after this meeting tonight. We've tried to make ourselves very available to everyone. We certainly have not disappeared. And we've certainly, I hope everyone can agree that we've certainly done what we can to make ourselves available and be accessible. But for now, we're still exploring a 4-lot plan. And I think we'll continue to explore that and options associated with 4 lots here.
Okay, there's a comment about North McDowell being different. It is right next to a grocery store. Density and setbacks are the 2 main concerns of the neighbors in your plans. How are you addressing that?
Can I ask a question about the previous comment?
Sure, please, by all
I'm
means.
sorry, I tried to raise my hand via Zoom, and not how that worked.
I'm sorry.
This is Melanie, and I'm on Whiting. And
Hey,
one
Melanie.
of my questions is, hey, so when we had the first meeting over at the lot, and you guys had asked everyone's comments, and we had asked is there any way to do 3, and is there any way to do duplexes and things like that, you guys seemed open to it. And now when people ask oh, is there any consideration about the 3, it seems like I feel it's never been talked about, but we asked about that and you're definitely set on 4. Why is there no consideration about 3 houses on that property everyone had asked about? That we got the impression at the end of that meeting that you were willing to consider duplexes at that time as well. And it's just been I feel it's just been passed to the side.
Yeah. So thank you for the comment. And yeah, that meeting, we were definitely looking for feedback, and everything was very new, and a lot of kind of investigation was being done on our part and the petitioner's part from a pro forma standpoint. I don't think at that time really anything definitively had been decided on. The by right option here. And I think that's where this all really got started. The by right option here is like we talked out there is a duplex, and it could potentially be a very gangly large duplex at that. It doesn't really feel like it would, that itself, the by right option here, that itself does not seem like it would be an appropriate option when you look at the form of the neighborhood. So what is appropriate is the size of the actual home, and the size of the homes that are within the North Davidson community really is what we're looking at. It's not really the parcel itself, it's the actual footprint of the home that's so common within the community. And when you take that footprint and you apply it to this parcel, this end parcel here that's along Wesley, it's really more of a form discussion and architecture and form discussion. Now, related to the setbacks, the setbacks that we're wanting to take a look at here are really more of a community engagement type of setting. You've got 7 layers of privacy when it comes to homes as they relate to your adjacent jurisdictional rights of way. You've got your sidewalk, you've got your yard, your porch, your stoop, you've got your covered patio that has its railings up front. So from a setback standpoint, there's actually going to be multiple layers there that would be incorporated into these homes. And despite them being a little closer to the setback than a lot of the homes in the community, there are some architectural elements that will make it feel like a very appropriate, very comfortable relationship between the home and the adjacent sidewalk. Sorry,
Well,
that
I
was a very
also know that
long-winded answer. Sorry.
well, no, but I mean, I also know that we had talked about the duplexes and we were referring to what happened at the end of Spencer and 35th, just down the street from Whiting, where they had a duplex, which is a sold, like each side is sold. And we were talking about doing like 2 duplexes possibly on that lot, just to like, instead of 4 houses, it would be, kind of
Two
2
duplexes.
duplexes. And I mean, I feel like just like everything that was talked about that day is not even being considered. And I'm just like the biggest thing was like, hey, can we have 2 duplexes or 3 single families? And that just kind of went out the window, I felt. And I thought that like you guys said that you were going to definitely consider it. And now it's just there's no even discussing it at all anymore.
So
And to piggyback on that, it seems like you're threatening us with a by right sort of, monster duplex, but, I'd be curious to see a site plan for that idea versus just, have it be threatened to us almost.
Okay.
so please,
By no
I would
means
like to interject.
am I
I'm so sorry, but I
threatening.
would like to
Okay.
interject on that. We have never shown anyone in the community this duplex by right threat. That is not something we have done. We have never said that. So I just want to make that clear that never in this entire process have we ever threatened the by right duplex. That's not what we're intending here. So I would want to mention that.
You do keep using that language of by right we can do this, by right we can do this.
I did mention it just a moment ago for the first time. I don't think I'm mentioning it over and over again.
You said it at the neighborhood meeting as well and at the meeting on the, so I mean, it may just be that the language there means something different to you discursively than it does to us, but your tone on there certainly seems like it is saying, if you don't accept our plan, we will come back with this very ugly thing that you will like even less.
That is not the intent. So if that's what is being demonstrated by my tone, all I can say is that is an inaccurate way to hear my tone, and I apologize for that.
Okay.
Okay.
Next question. Can you please discuss what specific aspects of the current Nota neighborhood vision plan are addressed by your proposal?
Yep. So a lot of the visioning plan for the Nota neighborhood, a lot of that is, you've got art, public connectivity. A lot of it is focused primarily within the retail districts as well. And here, primarily what we're wanting to do is just provide that single family residential variety of housing. That's where we're really focused on this particular petition.
All right, there's another comment to please take your cues from the BLE station area plan that was referenced earlier. There's a question, next question is, are the 3 driveways coming off of Wesley Avenue or going along the back of the property?
So right now we've got just the 1 driveway off of Whiting Avenue, and then 2 off of Wesley, and then 1 off of 34th Street.
And there's a bit of follow-up to that. Have you thought of sheds instead of garages, because nobody parks in garages, to give them more parking in a driveway like the rest of the houses on Whiting that you're referring to?
Yep. So here, each home, each parcel would actually have a pretty generous driveway. Each one of these garages would likely be a 2-car garage, and then again a pretty generous driveway length. So there's ample opportunity for these homeowners to park in a driveway if they do so choose to use their garage for storage, like some people do.
Well, I think so really quick that lot 1 that shoots out onto Whiting Avenue appears to have a very, very tiny driveway. So Whiting Avenue, the street we've mentioned numerous times that has problems with parking and not being very wide, you're now giving it a tiny short driveway where more than likely they're going to park on the street, and it's going to be an issue.
Okay, thank you.
What proportion of the present green space would be eliminated with this proposal?
That is not something we have studied, but each home would have its own, again, smaller yards, less area to tend to, less area to take care of for each parcel. But there is a portion of green space that's there today that would be utilized for homes.
Next question is, where would your guests park?
Likely in the driveways that we are proposing here. Let's see here.
Next, the comment, if you're using the houses on Whiting as precedent for lot size, you should also use the amount of on-street parking that happens there are precedent.
Okay.
Maybe that meant as precedent.
As precedent. Okay. Okay.
The stationary plan has neighborhood preservation in this entire area and is approximately 10 years newer than the GDP policy. If you infer from it all, you would see it applies here too. If this was a larger parcel on 36th Street or Parkwood Davidson, it would be more appropriate.
Okay. Noted.
Can you remind us what the builder's price point will be? Will these be considered affordable?
So I don't know specifically what the price point would be for each home. And right now there is not an affordable component here being explored. The affordable component was something that was considered early, I think, but at this point the 4 lots and I think that's really how it's going to shake out. These are going to be market rate homes.
Setback should not be a major concern. Bringing porches closer to the sidewalks is safer and makes for a more social neighborhood. And then there's comments that I think someone unmuted themselves and asked about, which was the by right versus what is being proposed. We who live on these streets keep telling you that your plan violates the density and character of the neighborhood. Why are you not willing to acknowledge that? And again, I think we've been touching on that already. Can you re-show elevations?
Let's see here. So single family homes, single family rezoning petitions, North Carolina law actually says that you can't present its actual elevations. Usually it's your multifamily districts, your multifamily petitions that actually show those elevations. So all we can really do is provide architectural precedents of what we're trying to capture here.
And then the follow-up to that question was, historically, our building heights are 1 to 1.5 stories, setbacks, lot widths, orientation, and building heights all add to the neighborhood character, of which I wouldn't say footprint is the highest priority.
Okay, thank you, Melissa.
Okay, there's a concern about 4 lots, 4 homes. What happens when these homes are bought as investments and rented out to 3 or 4 people? I believe that's a concern about parking, potentially. What is the expected footprint, length, and width of these homes, and what does 2.5 story mean in practical terms?
So 2.5 stories would likely be approximately 33 feet to the top of the roof, 35 feet to the apex of the roof, somewhere in there. So it'd be a 2-story home, and then that half story is actually a habitable conditioned space within the attic. Essentially, that's where the half story comes from. The length of the home, if I had to estimate, let's see here, I'm gonna just provide an approximate guesstimate here. Probably somewhere around 45 feet in length, 45, 50 feet in length, somewhere around there. Let's see here.
It looks like there was a follow-up to your comment just now, Paul, about rezoning being able to show elevations.
Oh, so yeah, they can't be incorporated into an actual rezoning petition. And in fact, even like when we present to city council, they can't ask any specific questions regarding, you know, what are your homes going to look like? But again, what we can do is show these architectural precedents of the character of what we're proposing here.
And I misspoke about the rental comment. Sorry about that, Grace. That was actually not about a parking issue, but more about maintaining the character of the neighborhood, which is families.
Okay. Okay.
Is there any way for you to get a stop sign on Whiting and Wesley to slow traffic down if this happens? Speeding traffic on Whiting is horrible.
That is actually something we can talk to CDOT about. So while we're going through this process, we are in discussions with city staff, and Charlotte Department of Transportation is one of those departments that we speak to and coordinate on. If a stop sign is a concern here, and the request for a stop sign is a concern here, then that is certainly something that we can verbalize back to Charlotte Department of Transportation and let them know that the city would, or the neighbors would like to see a stop sign here. We can absolutely do that for everybody. Let's see.
Okay, the designated lots on the online petition only allow for a 10-foot rear setback. From what I understand, in that space outside of the lot perimeter, you can still build detached structures. Do the garages you are proposing still fall within the lot area, or would these extend past?
That's actually a great question. So yes, that's exactly right. So City of Charlotte zoning ordinance does say that by right, detached garages up to a certain percentage, if they're attached, or I think within 3 feet of a lot line, a parcel line, you can build a detached garage. That is true. Here we are trying to locate the home and the detached garage within the rear yard. It's kind of hard to see, but there's some on lot 2 at the back next to the detached garage. There's some text, and that text is right next to the 10-foot rear yard line. So we're actually locating that garage within the rear yard. So in this particular case, we would not be intending to locate a garage any closer to that back property line.
How close are cars allowed to park to the intersection?
Well, so that's a good question. I think the city of Charlotte says that cars can't park any closer than 50 feet to an intersection. I'm not sure if many people get a ticket for that, but it's at least something that the police department can point at if a car is too close to an intersection and give someone a ticket. So I think 50 feet is that length.
Can you request that they put signs up for that? Because I mean, I live at the corner of, like, close to the corner of Whiting and Holt, and there's no signs, and people park right on the edge where fire trucks cannot get down that street if we ever need them.
Yeah, when we talk to them about the stop sign at Whiting, we can certainly talk to them about putting up some no parking on the other side of the sign. I know they're up in the neighborhood. Maybe CDOT needs to come through and inventory a few more spots to make sure those emergency vehicles can safely negotiate the streets. We can do that. We can absolutely.
Yeah, and just to put another plug there as well, of obviously not only the no parking on one side of the street, but if there's where we do have parking, the city did a lot of that a year ago. If there's other places where we feel that those signs are missing, let Eric and Jacob know, and we can push for those, because we're trying to correct all those places where we can.
Yeah, because I don't think they're considering the new builds that are coming to the area to, like, consider, like, you know, the parking on the corners. That's And I would really wish that they did, but it would be great if you guys could like ask for that.
Yeah. Yeah. We're dealing with that all over the neighborhood of, I think they've made some good progress where there was almost no signs to where we have a number, but it's almost, it's been centered more, I think, around where closer to North Davidson and where a lot of folks park to go to
the major street,
as much as getting back into the sort of neighborhood residential area.
Yeah, and Jake, we can.
And it still comes down to
that.
Yeah, and it still comes down to enforcement as well. This is Eric. The best way is to physically put curb extensions. That's really not too appropriate here because you're further back in the neighborhood than on like 36th Street or the other major street. But then, enforcement, which hopefully that shouldn't be a huge problem further back on the street as it is. No parking signs on those streets, just to run it past you.
I just know that Whiting's not talked about as much as like 36 and Spencer and things like that, because we're back in, like in the neighborhood, but like there are issues on this street where people just fly by and they're gonna hit somebody and they park right at the corners. And I would just love like for this rezoning to be able to do something about that.
Okay, certainly.
You could limit the height of the buildings to 1.5 or 2 stories. Currently, you already limit in the petition 35 feet and 2.5 stories, which is likely what we will be built. Why not go further?
So it really comes down to how much square footage can be sold within a home. And while the petition limits the homes to 2.5 stories and 35 feet, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what would be built. It's just a limit. A future homeowner or home builder may want to build a 2-story home here. That's certainly possible. But what we're proposing is just a limit to make sure that it does not go over that height.
Okay.
Can I ask one question about that? I'm sorry.
Sure. Of course.
The last meeting, the neighborhood meeting, you guys said that it could be up to 2.5 stories, which I know that the properties on Whiting that you guys keep referencing are 2 stories. So what is the difference between the 2 stories on Whiting and the 2.5 stories that you are referencing on this property? And why can't we just do 2 stories so that it's not like taller and like overbearing on the 2 stories that are on Whiting that you're referencing?
Sure. So the 2-story homes are the homes that we're proposing here are essentially, they're 2-story homes. The only difference is it would be a 2-story home with a finished space within the attic. The Whiting rezoning that Roma Homes took through the process about a year ago, those were also a 2.5-story home. And again, it's essentially a 2-story home with a finished attic space, essentially. So we're just codifying that within the design parameters and the design limits and standards.
But the ones that you keep referencing on Whiting, which is one of my houses that you keep putting on all of your pictures at 2820, is 2 stories. So if you're putting them right around the corner from us, which is basically in my backyard, why would you not limit it to 2 stories instead of 2.5?
Yep. So really, this is architectural precedence as far as character goes and look, building materials. I will acknowledge that the difference here is instead of a 2-story home, these would be a 2.5-story home with a finished space in the attic. That's essentially the difference. And we are creeping up on an hour here. We got started at 6. Just a little bit more here to go. Let's see if we could go through some of these questions. I want to try and make sure we get to everyone here tonight.
There's a question about, are we planning to add the illustrative site plan to the rezoning application?
So we have done that in the past on single-family rezonings, and staff has specifically instructed us to remove building footprints because they are single-family homes. We cannot take a single-family home through a rezoning process and provide an indication of a building footprint. So we will have to maintain and demonstrate what we're looking to achieve here through the design standards.
And there's a request to please consider traffic, as there's a large amount of kids in this part of the neighborhood. You may have already answered this, but are you thinking these would be 1 or 2 car garages?
2 car garages, two car detached garages. That's what we would prefer here, and I think there's a preference for that for home buyers.
And any thoughts about the height of the garage structures?
Unknown. I don't know, but that's certainly something that we can provide some more feedback on with the next NBA meeting coming up. Well, everyone, it's after 7 o'clock. I do want to thank everyone for showing up tonight. Thank you so much for your time. I know attending these on a Friday evening, or really attending these on any evening, is not really ideally what people would like to do with their free time. But the good news here is once we're done, it's the weekend. So again, I just want to thank you all for showing up tonight and spending this hour with us. It's greatly appreciated as we continue to discuss this petition here. Again, we're not hard to find. Jacob knows where to find us, and our information is out there. So please, by all means, if you have any additional comments or concerns regarding this petition moving forward, please feel free to reach out. We are accessible. And again, thank you tonight. And I hope everyone has a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands often, and we'll talk with you all soon. Have a good evening.
Paul.
And a great weekend.
Just before folks leave, obviously to summarize, and I know we talked about it during this meeting, but as we think about coming in front of the MBA as well, I think the same set of questions and concerns will continue to come up. Obviously, there's not that we as a Nota neighborhood as a whole have voted or put our full position on here, but I think the themes in terms of the density continuing to seem or to be larger than what the neighborhood is comfortable with. I think, as we go into the next steps of the conversation and coming back in front of the, I think the neighborhood has sort of put their opinion out there in terms of what we are interested to see. And I know you guys are submitting another plan on Monday, but I think the wishes of the neighborhood have, and obviously the direct neighbors, especially on this call, have continued to be heard in the last 3 meetings. And I think there's a good faith negotiation in terms of where we can get to, that both sides can be happy, that and work hopefully that we can continue to do together.
Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, we have definitely heard those concerns. We're listening. I give you my word, we are listening, and we're certainly doing what we can to accommodate those comments and concerns tonight. So thank you for that. All right. Well, again, thank you everyone for your time tonight. We really appreciate it. And have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.